Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa Life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. With Spa Life, the SPA, the SPA, is for Seek Power Always, that internal power you have within you. And that is a perfect subject to segue into. I am so thrilled to have our special guest today, Angel Evans. She is a special being. She has been a healer and mentor to me for years, and she has discovered an extraordinary, groundbreaking nutrient technology, which we all refer to as food for the cells. Today, you're going to get an inside look at how you can reach your full genetic potential. Angel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate being here.
Well, I'm going to jump right in because, you change people's lives. Like sometimes people are like, I don't even know what Angel does. She just has magic around her. There's like this internal truth of what people don't see who they are. And, just to give people a little bit of background, when I first met you, I was freshly out of retiring from the police department. I had all kinds of walls up. I had a lot of anxiety within me. There was a lot of things happening, and you were part of my journey to really release all of the things that were holding me back. And I would love for you to, share with our audience a little bit about your journey and just share your magic, girlfriend.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. And it has been such an honor to watch the blossoming of the extraordinary hostess that you all are fortunate enough to know in Diane. And my journey started from being extremely unwell most of my life. And I was a child of the 70s, so I took antibiotics at least 5 or 6 rounds a year for about 13 years. And I ended up with a terrible, terrible neurological disease called multiple sclerosis. And that was my great teacher. One of the things that I do instantly is I shift the paradigm into illness is opportunity. Every single time you are unwell, your higher self is trying to give you a signal. And how does that higher self interface with your biology, your physical life? And then how does that physical external expression of who you are, how does that relate to your internal spa? Like the way that Diane and I really come together is that we want to assist you today to have a consciousness about what you're doing, how you're behaving, and how that's affecting the quality of your life. So I think, shall we get into the microbiome?
Yeah, let's get into that because, a lot of times people will, they'll live their life. A lot of times we talk about the busyness, like people get into this, we call it like the new addiction, if you will, just the busyness that we have in our life. And, a lot of people don't know how they can do that differently. So let's start getting into that. There are actual markers within us that we can address that isn't what's running us on a daily basis.
Okay, if I'm going to simplify this into some basic concepts, you have something called a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, your HPA axis. This acts like a stress thermostat. And if your stress thermostat is up here and it's going like this, your life doesn't look like this. Your life looks like this. So what I've done is I've helped identify what are the things that cause this rather than a life that looks like this. And that's where we get into the conversation about the daily drugs, which we'll get into that.
Right. And just so that people look at, when everyone's looking like, what does this actually mean? What we're talking about is the things that you're feeling internally in terms of stress and anxiety, depression, insomnia, lack of clarity, feeling fatigue, even though you got a full night's sleep, but you're waking up that way. And the daily addictions that are happening from, sugars and coffees and the things that are jacking you up. I mean, this is a list that can just go on, but it's just you feeling not the best version of yourself.
Well, what we want to understand is that everybody's always doing the best that they can. So, the serial killer's best isn't so great. But for those of us, we're really doing our best. But what we're doing is we're living on something called a biochemical roller coaster. And it means that you get up in the morning and you jack up with whether caffeine, cigarettes, whatever is your stimulant. And then in the middle of the day, you're tired, so you're having like chocolate or sugar. And by nighttime, you've got to relax, so you're having alcohol or marijuana. And this is very common. I've been in 13 countries in the last 4 years. It is global. So what we are all doing is operating on a biochemical roller coaster or a hamster wheel of stress, anxiety, depression, stress, anxiety, depression. And it really doesn't stop unless you make a choice. So I want you to understand that your epigenetic markers, which are the big buzzword right now, we've been talking about this for the last 2.5 decades. It means that if your great grandmother had a tragedy, let's say she was molested by the milkman, something horrible, that actual marker is going to be passed down to your great grandmother, then your grandmother, then you. And so part of what we're doing is we're battling with these epigenetic markers, and we're trying to fight something that actually doesn't even exist in our daily life. So that's one contributing factor. We're amping things up with the daily drugs.
Now, hey, Angel, does that actually happen within the same lifespan as well, when people tend to have like the same type things happening over and over again?
Yeah, in fact, your chemistry is sort of a recording. It's like whatever, it's like when people get a head injury, they never get one head injury. They always get multiple. Because what happens is we have this thing called a microbiome. Let's talk about the big picture. The microbiome is the bacterial intelligence that determines your mood and your quality of life. And what happens is you're sort of like a bacteria hotel. There's 160 rooms. The rooms are always full. When a good guy moves out, a bad guy moves in. And the bad guys love stress, anxiety, depression, all the daily drugs, and toxic relationships, toxic thoughts. And so as these bacteria take over, people don't realize that there's receptors on each of the bacteria cells, and they communicate with each other like one body. So one of the things that we encourage for this internal spa community to begin to build is to eliminate the things that are interfering with the quality of your experience of peace, harmony, love, forgiveness, laughter, compassion, all of those incredible things that we work on building as a good person. They actually can't flourish when we're feeding it all of the chemicals that want the bad bacteria to overgrow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that can be challenging for people is one, where do they even begin? Because sometimes these are the things they feel like it's getting them through the day. And, the mind, maybe let's talk a little bit about the mind that's unwell doesn't know that it's unwell.
Well, this is a condition that we call autopsychodysmesia. And that means when the brain is damaged, it doesn't know that it's damaged because the brain is what registers damage.
Right.
So what I always say is let's set people up for success. What you have to do is you have to pick one thing at a time.
Right.
If you pick all of your daily drugs, all your crutches, and you decide to quit those, well, quite likely you're going to set yourself up for failure. I've been helping people for 40 years to eliminate these types of chemicals. So the first thing is let's just pick the one in the morning. Let's start with caffeine. First of all, people don't even know that caffeine equals worry, stress, anxiety, fear, pre-onset arthritis, testicular cancer, breast tumors, and it acts like Miracle-Gro to cancer cells. But that isn't even why I don't want people to have it. What happens is that caffeine affects something called adenosine. And the adenosine receptors in the morning, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the energy molecule that gives your cells the get up and go. However, at night, adenosine is what affects you not getting fourth stage sleep. This is our family's community that we talk about, is that we're the sleepers. And this is the sleep that a healthy child would get 20 or 30 minutes of a night. And it's our hypothesis that people are not getting 1 or 2 minutes, not even 1 or 2 minutes. That's why when you mentioned before, people can go unconscious. Everybody can lay down and go unconscious. But if you're not getting that fourth stage sleep, you're not regenerating, and your spa is going to be diminished.
Now, how would people even know if they're getting that level of sleep?
Well, the reason you know is that your whole life changes. You literally go to sleep at night. You sleep through the night. You wake up energized. You don't need a nap. You don't crave sugar. So let's pick one thing that people can start. Well, I'm going to say right off the bat, anyone drinking soda at this point, if you really want to know how silly soda is, you take a piece of animal flesh, like chicken or beef, just like we did in second grade, and you put it in a glass of soda. And you're going to watch within 48 hours, it's completely disintegrated. And that's what's happening to your cartilage. And so soda is something that I say to people, just get off it now. Start with, making a fizzy water drink for yourself if you're really addicted to the habit. The thing to understand is that your mind doesn't know the difference between the chemical and the not chemical. So you always replace the habit with something that is good for you while you're eliminating something that's bad for you. So I never tell people to quit caffeine overnight. You're going to end up with a 3-day migraine. You're going to be so uncomfortable. You're going to hate my advice. What you can do is over about 10 days to 2 weeks, and you do it like this. You start with your caffeinated drink and you have your substitute. There's a ton of them out there. Ticino is a good brand. Dandy Blend is another brand. And these are actually good for your liver. They've got chicory. One other one has dandelion. So you take your caffeine and you take your substitute, and every day, you're about like this actually. Every day you take your real caffeinated thing and you increase with your substitute. And by the end of 2 weeks, you literally keep your substitute every single day while you go through. Now you're going to be tired. You're going to be tired because you're going to realize how much you've been falsifying your energy. None of the caffeinated drinks give you anything except norepinephrine. They don't give you the dopamine that you're craving. And in order for your brain to produce what you need, you've got to take away the chemical. And as you want to get extraordinary and delicious and younger and beautiful, then, people will contact me for the private work that we do beyond this. However, this is the way you start. You already know what your life is like with caffeine. You already know what your life is like with sugar. You know what your life is like with alcohol. The interesting thing is, what could your life be like free of chemicals, free of the biochemical roller coaster, standing in your power, not having a stress thermostat like this, magnetizing to you all those stressful situations. And, I get a lot of very powerful leaders in the world, and it's interesting. They're like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's great. I don't need anything. And then you go, okay, how are your kids? Oh, they're a wreck. They're stressed. Oh my God, my one son is suicidal. Well, how's your wife? Well, we haven't talked in the last 3 months. Things aren't well. Our sex life isn't happening. Well, the thing is that the stress may not be showing up on you in a way that you can self-reflect. However, it's quite likely your friends, your family, and your business cohorts can tell. And so what we're mentioning today is, let's start understanding how this bacterial intelligence affects every single aspect of our existence.
Right, right. Well, it's this awareness. A lot of times we talk here about being aware of your space and yourself. And, sometimes, we talk about, like Les Brown says that, you can't see the big picture when you're in the frame, like you're in it. And so you can't see it. So you want to have people around you can be that reflection for you. I mean, Angel, when I first saw you, I had a mutual friend that had connected us, and I thought there was nothing wrong with me. Like, I thought I was perfectly fine. Everything was great. And then started the reflections that I was getting was that, I didn't open up as much. And, I still have glimpses of that at times where, you kind of recognize that, and then you do the things that really allow you to be more of who you are. And I know that when you and I are connected and I have that reflection, then I know that I can rest into myself. I can take care of myself on a deeper level. Because here's the thing, especially as leaders in the world, if you're not taking care of yourself and you don't even have the recognition that you actually need to take care of yourself, then you can't do the bigger purpose about why you were here and what you were doing. So really looking, and I love that you've created this, private groups that support people, because, we all know here in the world today that, there aren't necessarily people out there that want you to truly be healthy. There is huge industries that are out there to keep you unwell, right? I mean, how many times that you start with a prescription and then the answer is another prescription, and people who are on 20 prescriptions, right? And it's crazy the level of non-health that people are not even recognizing. So the awareness, I believe, is such a first step, is be aware of how your relationships are. What kind of things are you taking to sustain yourself through the day? And are you being as effective as you want to be?
Well, let's go deeper then. So the first conversation we're having is about what you're doing on a daily basis that you may not know is affecting and impacting the quality of your life.
Yes.
Let's go to the most important thing that's going on in the world right now. We have this incredible awakening and shift in consciousness that's occurring for everybody. And in my experience, it's not possible to be awake and be in an emotional roller coaster or be in chaos. And so one of the things that I encourage people to do 10 to 15 times a day is just stop your thoughts right now. Just stop your thoughts. 2 to 5 seconds. The way I explain it's very simplified, is that if you look at the great creator, source, God, spirit, whatever it is you want, think of that as this enormous ball of light. And here you are, you're this spark of light. And you have this cell membrane, or let's say cellophane, block between the small you and the greater you. Every time you stop your thoughts, it perforates that cell membrane, pokes a hole. And that greater part of who you are starts to come in so that you can reground and center. This is something that we want to be doing every day, all day long. Our thoughts will come back. What we want is we want the thoughts of our higher self. We want to discover that light of our soul so that it can guide and direct us to the greater work that we really came here to do. Because we are only a projection of our own mind. The physicists of the world have agreed that if you take the solid molecules of all human beings, 8 billion of us, all together in one space, it would only fit into a sugar cube. Now that's like think about it, okay? So you're actually a projection of your own mind. It has been my last 25 years of work to discover how we can amplify your chemistry, your genetic potential, authentically, really, in real life. Stop aging. Aging is a disease. There's no difference between a 1-year-old cell and a 100-year-old cell. It's whether the cell is functioning properly. So that's a deeper conversation that we get into with people. But when you silence your vessel, when your chemistry comes actually balanced, and you have that ability to continuously stop your thoughts, contemplate why you came this lifetime. Contemplate what you're here to do and who are the beings you want to collaborate with. You're very fortunate. You have one of the brightest lights in Diane out there leading the troops, recognizing that we are here to express the power of our divinity in each and every moment. And it's really challenging on our own.
Right.
The humbling thing is nobody gets there by themselves.
Right. Well, and I think that's what's key is I think especially as entrepreneurs, people can feel really isolated because a lot of times they work with themselves or just a few people and, they're in their home, they're by themselves, they're with their own thoughts, and knowing that you have a community to reach out because, if you're building to the level that you want to have impact in the world, you can't do that on your own. So you want to build those reinforcements around you. And I love that you're talking about having to stop the chaos because we talk so much about chaos, and it's only when you actually stop and you look around that you actually stop the chaos in the moment to actually see what can you shift and what can you change. A lot of times we look at the physical space. A lot of times I've talked to our listeners about the clutter to drama ratio, that the more clutter in your space, the more drama in your mind. This is the chaos that's happening, in every aspect because it's not isolated. It's not just in your mind or your body, in your environment. It's all a reflection. If something's not working in one area of your life, I can guarantee you it's not working in other areas. So just doing these things. And what I love about what you're saying here, Angel, is that, just taking a moment, right? Everyone feels like they're so busy and so much is happening. This is literally seconds where you can, I don't care if you need to lock yourself in the bathroom or in your closet or in your car, but to just sit there for one moment and just stop the thoughts and just be quiet for a moment and say, what can I do powerfully in this moment for myself, for what I'm doing, and to really look at what are the things that we're doing on a daily basis that are actually taking us, out of being who we are, right? I mean, this doingness and this is such a journey for me to do that, because it is my inclination to keep doing and do more. And I have people like you and people around me that are really helping me ground into that, and to actually now because it becomes a habit, right? So these are the daily habits that I've put into place of doing the things that bring me back to center, because every day something can just, emergencies happen, lots of things that happen. And that's a whole nother story about how we live in emergency mode because we're creating that, right? And again, it's that being out of alignment with who we are and creating those kind of things. So, I love what you're doing with this. And, again, when people are in a place where they're feeling every day where it's like this. And I love how you're looking at something as, as simple as caffeine, which made me not as simple for some people,
Right.
of what are some of the other things that they can do? Like if they go, you know what, I've tried meditation, or I've tried being quiet, but, the mind keeps going,
Yeah.
How can they, start when they are at a place where life just feels chaotic?
Okay. So first of all, I want everyone to understand that there's a basic principle that I teach, is that your rituals create your results. So whatever you consistently do is what you get in life.
Wait a
So
minute. Whoa. I want to say that again, because I know some people are going to be driving, and
yeah,
again, things just kind of
right,
come in out.
right,
So I want to have this land for everyone listening to this, is
yeah,
that your rituals equal your results, right?
yeah,
So what you're doing day in and day out, that is what will equal the results that you get. So what are you doing on a daily basis that
right.
gets you those results? If you're not getting the results that you want in the different areas of your life, you got to go back and go, what are the rituals? What are the things that you're doing? So what can they be doing?
Okay. So 12 to 15 times a day, 10 times a day, you just stop your thoughts. 2 to 5 seconds. If you did it 12 times a day, that's a total of 1 minute. So until that, the other thing is that you've got to have a pretty constant inspiration in your world. You got to listen to somebody who has a higher vibration, who has a level of peace, a level of harmony, a level of musing into you, that you see the value of what it is to stop. That's critical. Everybody needs mentoring. Everybody needs some place that they can say, look, my soul is hurting. I don't know why. I don't know what to do. So you've got to find those people that inspire you into your greatness. And sometimes there's a lonely switch off where you start realizing, wait a minute, I walk away from that person and I want to slip my wrist, but I walk away from that person and I'm inspired to totally do my life. Make a choice. Be around the vibration that makes you want to change your life, makes you want to be better. Begin to understand that the quality of your good bacteria, the internal bacteria, affects the quality of your experience of life. So before you automatically put that thing in your mouth or do that thing over and over and over, make a question. Is this biogenic, meaning that it's going to build me, or is this going to kill me? It's really that simple. Is this adding to my health? Is this taking away from my health? They either add or they take away. That's all that what goes in your mouth does. So if you start to question, what we're looking for is that 3 breaths moment. 3 breaths. And then you speak your mind. Or 3 breaths, and then you think about what you're going to eat. 3 breaths, and then you decide how you're going to respond to that person. Because when we're in an automatic response mode, we're not actually being proactive. We're mostly being reactive. So, like you said before, one of the most powerful things that we can do is begin to recognize, am I being myself or am I reacting? Am I being in a natural state, or am I being like an emotional, chaotic state? It's very difficult. So the thing that I will get people to do, and this is a really simple Jinshin Jitsu, this is a wonderful healing technique, is that you can take one hand and you hold your thumb. Now, when you do that, there is a pulse that goes on in your thumb that will start to change. The pulse will actually change. you'll feel it start to calm down. It's amazing. Even when I do it for a second, like you can feel your whole system. Then what you can do is you switch to the next finger, you know, and you hold that. Now at night when you can't sleep, one of the things you can do is you can hold your fingers just like this and sort of tune in and look for that shift in the pulse. And I swear, sometimes by the time you get to the second hand, you're already asleep.
Right.
But
I
you can
love
feel,
it.
Diane, like how it just totally, you know, and you just keep moving to the next finger and you wrap around. And it's kind of extraordinary how just holding your own fingers calms you down. So you've got stopping your thoughts, you've got 3 breaths, you've got holding your fingers. And you know, I discovered a long time ago that it's kind of cruel to say to people, you should meditate. When you don't have enough calming neurotransmitters, it's almost impossible to meditate, as far as I'm concerned. And so one of the things I've done is I've developed meditations that take people into restfulness, into peacefulness, into sleep. And sometimes people will listen and they'll be like, oh my God, I fell asleep in like a minute. It's like, you know what? That's the place that your subconscious is taking it in. Right. That's fine. And so of course, we're gonna offer a free meditation for anybody listening so they can get a flavor of this. And there's many, many other tools that Diane and I can go into on another episode. And I just want to thank you all for listening.
Well, thank you. And I love the simplicity of what people can do just to start and do the things that they can do. I mean, you know, stopping the thoughts and the breaths and, you know, really just holding onto your fingers. I mean, these are things that you can do throughout the day that can really have you start being proactive. And the recognition of how much things that we do reactively is just, it's mind-blowing actually. So we actually aren't making a lot of conscious choices. So this is a good step to moving forward to have some more awareness in your life around that. So speaking of awareness, before I go into your free offer that you have for everyone, is one of the things I love to ask, because I really think environment matters. And I know that you are so intentional about the environments that you create. I always like to ask my guests, what is your favorite room and why?
Interesting. Well, I would say that it's changed this last couple of months. Right now, my favorite room is my bedroom, because I am going through a transition in my own life, very spa related, where, you know, to do what I've done and to bring something to the world that hasn't been here ever, it has been a 7-day-a-week job for decades. And so I am really digging getting into bed early and relaxing, and I might meditate. I may binge watch a little Netflix. I may do whatever, but I'm digging. And the thing is that I've just moved on 2 coasts, and my bedrooms are really smaller than they've been in decades. And I'm loving it. It's like a womb room. And it's interesting that I would say that one now. Previously, it would for sure be my meditation rooms, where I build the field and the light is very powerful, and you walk in and it's like, whoa. But this is a nesting phase, because there's so much transition and transformation going on that it requires that real stillness of hours and hours. And you know, it's very important about sleep. If you're on your phone or you're watching TV or you're on your iPad at night, it 100% disturbs the quality of your sleep. I am encouraging everyone, read a book at night, look at a magazine, do something that doesn't have an electromagnetic frequency before you go into this peaceful place. You actually want to calm down your nervous system. And the other thing is, I have like pretty strict rules. When it comes to like the chaos and the outrageous things that we deal with on a daily basis on Earth, I pretty much don't have difficult conversations after about 6 o'clock at night. Little ground rule. And never fight in bed for couples. Get the heck out of bed, immediately go for a walk, and have your fight outside. Don't put it in this sacred space that you're about to journey into the other worlds with.
Right. I love that. Just the intentionality. It's funny you mentioned that having a smaller sanctuary space for the bedroom, because a lot of my clients, we've been talking about, does each of the rooms that you're creating in your life, do they reflect the experience that you want to have in there? And a lot of times, because people are spending more time, in their office or connecting with other people or being social, that they're actually having the bedroom suite areas as more of like an office or a family gathering area, and they're actually choosing some of the smaller rooms in their home to create this cocoon sanctuary that is more quiet, it's darker, it's one of those places where they can fully relax and be who they are. And so just to clarify, even though you mentioned about the electronics as far as watching the Netflix and that, you do that early on, like at 6 p.m. or something, and then you transition into no electronics, because I know that you go into whether it's reading or being, so that you definitely right before you go to sleep, you're not having that exposure to, you know, toxic conversations or electronics or things, so that you can segue into that part of your evening.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I don't want to put out that this is some sort of like sterile, non-fun life. I want you to know, when you become chemical free and when you are not run by the matrix, it's the most extraordinary experience, because having access to the totality of who you really are as a multidimensional being is never boring. It is never still. It is so exciting. It's just that there is a process to elegantly, delicately, and lovingly transition yourself from this stressed out, you know, norepinephrine type world to one where your neurotransmitters are supporting you, and you live actually a much more blissful, ecstatic life, and way more joyful, and you can be goofy and silly, and you can, you know, there's no one who loves hilarious comedy more than me. Hilarious, like, you know, give me some Dave Chappelle, give me some things that like I'm in, and I have a wide palette for humor. So you know, that is key. However, right now on earth, we are craving communion. We are craving to work together and collaborate in a harmonious way. And the first collaboration is within yourself. You and the divine.
Thank you so much for that. There's just so many things here. And, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what you bring into people's lives. And I know that one of the first steps is, you know, your generous gift of your meditation. So can you give them your email on what it is they can do to request that?
Okay. So it's brand new website, angelevans.love. I am choosing to come out into the world in a bigger way. And so you email angel@angelevans.love, and we will send back a meditation for you to take a taste. I teach global classes on the phone. People work with me all over. And as I said, we have a couple private organizations that completely reboot and recollaborate your true genetic potential.
I love that. And we will put into the show notes that link as well. So if you're driving and you didn't get that, don't worry. You can go look in the show notes and you'll be able to have that. You know, she's got some meditation series that really help you if you find, and I really invite you to do the daily exercise she's talking about. But if you find that you're still not able to find that stillness and really be able to step in that deeper, you definitely may need some deeper guidance in that. And Angel can answer any of your questions privately. Make sure you email her, and we'll be able to give you guys some further resources on that. So Angel, I just want to thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and just your journey that you've taken here in your own healing, that you now step into the world and heal others on such a deep level. I'm so grateful.
Well, you are one of the brightest lights in the world, and I'm so fortunate for you to introduce me and trust me with your community.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Well, listeners, as we have this conversation here with Angel around, awareness, awareness is always the first step. And so I also have a free gift for you, because having awareness is really knowing what that is really helps you. And I've got my quiz is the liferesetquiz.com. Again, that's liferesetquiz.com. We'll also have that in the show notes. And that'll take you 2 minutes to have that awareness of where things are for you in your space, in your mindset, in your self-care. Because once you know where you're succeeding and where you may need some support, that's really helpful. Now, whether or not you are watching this on video on Facebook or YouTube or out on any of the podcasts, make sure that you put into the comments. First of all, subscribe, because definitely that's how we can share information and be together in a community. It's what Angel's talking about. We're not an island. We want to be a community. So please subscribe. please share, please get the message out, and put into any of the comments, what is one thing that you took away from this? What is something that you want to shift or change? What was an awareness that you had? Or what are some of the questions? And make sure that you tag both myself and Angel, and we're happy to come back around and answer any of your questions and to support you at the deeper level that we can. So as always, listeners, thank you so much for your valuable time. That's the one resource that we all have in limited quantities. And so I really appreciate you being here as part of that. And as always, live your spa life. Bye for now.